You always settle for less. My mother's voice carried across the entire reception hall. 250 guests went silent. Forks paused midair. Conversations died instantly. Even the band stopped playing. I stood there in my wedding dress, holding a glass of champagne, while every eye in the room turned toward me. My name is Elena Brooks, and that was the moment something inside me went completely still. Not angry, not embarrassed, just still. "Mom," I said quietly. But she wasn't done. "You rushed this marriage," she continued, smiling like she was giving a toast. "A small house, a modest life. I expected more for you." Beside me, my husband Daniel squeezed my hand under the table. Tight, steady, grounding. "I'm happy," I said simply. She laughed. Soft, dismissive. That's what people say when they don't know better. The silence deepened. People shifted uncomfortably. Someone coughed, but no one stopped her. I didn't react. Not when she sat down. Not when whispers started. Not even when Daniel leaned closer and whispered, "We can leave." I shook my head slightly. No. Because leaving wasn't the answer. Not this time. I took a slow sip of champagne. And smiled. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to fix the moment. I was watching it. And something inside me had already changed. The reception resumed slowly, like nothing had happened. But everything had. Conversations picked back up, softer this time. Controlled. Careful. People avoided looking directly at me, like eye contact might acknowledge what they had just witnessed. I sat beside Daniel, calm. Too calm. "You okay?" he asked quietly. I nodded. "I'm fine." And I meant it. That's what confused him. Because he expected tears. Or anger. Or anything that looked like a reaction. Instead, I just observed. Across the room, my mother laughed with a group of guests like she hadn't just humiliated her own daughter. That was familiar. What wasn't familiar was how little it affected me. Dinner was served. Speeches followed. Everything moved forward. Then Daniel's phone buzzed on the table. Once. Twice. 3 times. He frowned slightly and picked it up. His expression changed almost instantly. "What is it?" I asked. He hesitated. "Nothing," he said. I didn't believe him. Not because of suspicion. Because of timing. "Daniel," I said quietly. He exhaled slowly. Then turned the phone toward me. An email. Subject line. Property offer. Urgent review required. My stomach didn't drop. My heart didn't race. I just read it. Then read it again. Because the sender wasn't a stranger. It was his father. And the message underneath made everything very clear. "We found a buyer for your house. Let's move quickly." I looked at Daniel. He didn't meet my eyes. "When were you going to tell me?" I asked quietly. He swallowed. "I was going to," he said. "Just not tonight. Not tonight. My wedding night." That almost made me smile. "You're selling our house?" I asked. "It's not like that," he said quickly. That sentence again. "It's never like that." "Then what is it like?" I asked. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "My dad found a buyer. It's a really good offer. Way above market." I listened. Calm. Still. "And you agreed?" I asked. "I said we'd consider it," he corrected. "Consider. Without me." I nodded slowly. That tracked. "Why?" I asked. He hesitated. That hesitation said more than any explanation. "Daniel," I said softly. He exhaled. "Because we can do better," he admitted. Better. The same word my mother had just used. I felt something settle inside me. Not break. Settle. "You think this life isn't enough," I said. "That's not what I meant." "It is," I interrupted quietly. Across the room, my mother laughed again. Loud. Sharp. Perfect timing. I looked back at Daniel. "You invited her," I said. It wasn't a question. He froze. Because now, the moment wasn't separate anymore. It was connected. And for the first time, everything made sense. Daniel didn't deny it. That was the part that mattered. "I thought it would be better if she heard it from us," he said carefully. "Us." I nodded slowly. "Better for who?" I asked. He didn't answer. Because we both knew. Across the room, my mother raised her glass again, laughing like she had just helped something important move forward. She's right, you know, Daniel added quietly. That made me look at him. About what? I asked. He hesitated. About settling, he said. There it was. Clear. Unfiltered. You think I settled for you? I asked. No, he said quickly. I mean for this life. This house. We could upgrade. Bigger place. Better area. Better. Again. The same word. The same idea. Just a different voice. I leaned back in my chair. Calm. Still. Because now I understood something I hadn't before. This wasn't about one comment. Or one email. Or one conversation. This was a pattern. A shared belief. That I should want more. Be more. Demand more. But not for myself. For their version of me. I looked at Daniel. Then at my mother. Then back at the room. 250 people. Watching. Waiting. And for the first time, I realized something very simple. I wasn't in the wrong place. I was surrounded by the wrong people. I picked up my glass again. Took another slow sip. Then set it down. Excuse me, I said calmly, standing up. The movement drew attention instantly. Again. The room quieted without being asked. Daniel looked up at me. Elena, he said under his breath. I didn't answer him. Instead, I turned slightly, toward the center of the room, toward the microphone. 250 people watched me walk. Not rushed. Not emotional. Just deliberate. I reached the mic and adjusted it slightly. The sound echoed softly. I glanced once at Daniel, then at my mother, then at the guests. I just wanted to say something quickly. I began. My voice didn't shake. That surprised them. I know tonight was unexpected. I continued. A few nervous laughs. I ignored them. My mother shared her opinion about my life. I paused, then smiled slightly. And my husband shared his just now. That shifted the room. People glanced at Daniel, at my mother, back at me. But I realized something important, I said. I took a breath. This isn't my moment to defend myself. Silence. Heavy. Confused. It's my moment to decide what I accept. That landed. Because it wasn't emotional. It was final. I looked directly at Daniel, then said the one thing no one expected. This marriage ends here. The room didn't react immediately. It just froze. Like no one was sure they had heard me correctly. Daniel stood up, so fast his chair scraped loudly against the floor. Elena, what are you doing? He said, his voice low but sharp. I looked at him. Calm. Clear. Finishing what you started, I replied. That landed. Because now everyone understood. This wasn't sudden. This wasn't emotional. This was a response. My mother stood next. Don't be dramatic, she snapped. You're embarrassing yourself. I almost smiled. No, I said quietly. I stopped being embarrassed a long time ago. A ripple moved through the guests. Whispers. Shifting. People realizing this wasn't a scene. It was a decision. Daniel stepped closer. We can talk about this later, he said urgently. There is no later, I replied. His hand reached for mine. I stepped back. That was the moment it hit him. Really hit him. Because until now, he thought this was temporary. Fixable. Controlled. What are you saying? He asked. I held his gaze. I'm saying you don't get to plan my life, I said. Not with your father. Not with my mother. Not without me. Silence again. Heavy. Final. Because for the first time, they weren't speaking for me. And I wasn't staying for them. No one clapped. No one spoke. That silence said more than anything else could. Daniel's face had changed. Gone was the calm, controlled version of him. This one looked uncertain. Elena, he said, softer now. Don't do this here. Here. That word mattered. Because to him, the problem wasn't what happened. It was where it happened. I tilted my head slightly. Where would you prefer? I asked. He didn't answer. My mother stepped forward again, her voice sharp. You're throwing your life away over one conversation. I looked at her, then at him, then back at the room. One conversation? I repeated. I shook my head slowly. No. This was years. Years of being corrected, adjusted, reshaped. Years of being told what I should want instead of being asked what I did. I took a breath. This just made it visible. That landed. Because now it wasn't about the wedding, or the house, or the comment. It was about something deeper. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. We can fix this, he said. I smiled slightly. No, I replied. You can fix your expectations. Silence again. Because for the first time, I wasn't trying to meet them. I was stepping outside them. I stepped away from the microphone. No rush. No hesitation. Just movement. The kind that doesn't ask permission. Daniel didn't follow. My mother didn't speak. The room stayed silent as I walked past the tables, past the decorations, past the version of a life that had already been decided for me without my consent. At the exit, I paused. Not because I doubted myself, because I wanted to feel it. The shift. I turned slightly. 250 people. Watching. But not judging anymore. Understanding. Or at least trying to. Daniel stood where I had left him. Still. My mother beside him. Tense. For once, they weren't in control of the moment. I opened the door. Cool night air met my face. Clean. Quiet. Mine. Behind me, the room remained frozen in the version of me they thought they knew. In front of me, nothing was decided yet. And that was the point. I stepped outside, closed the door, and kept walking. Not because I lost something, but because I finally stopped holding on to what was never mine to begin with.